سيدات والسادة الحضور، للذكاء الاصطناعي مستقبلا يعد واعدا ومليئا بالإمكانيات الهائلة للتطور التكنولوجي والتقدم في مختلف المجالات. ويتوقع أن يلعب الذكاء الاصطناعي دورا أساسيا في تحويل وتحسين حياتنا اليومية والأعمال والاقتصاد والصناعات بشكل عام. ويمثل الذكاء الاصطناعي إمكانيات هائلة للابتكار والتطوير في مختلف القطاعات، مما يفتح آفاقا جديدة للتقدم والتحسين المستدام في مجتمعاتنا على المدى الطويل.
During all this rapid growth, we have to take the different challenging in the ethics, and for all the countries and organizations and all the countries have to develop that to protect the system and the ethics at the same time. And the ICESCO organization to draw the artificial legislation and to be as a campus for all the countries, and how to work in this project in 2022. The goal of the ICESCO to draw all these regulations to support all the country members for all the technical developments and to enhance the level of evaluation in the reports, and at the same time how to reflect the readiness of the
موضح في تقرير جاهزية الحوكمة
في الذكاء الاصطناعي and how to be ready for the
والذي يبرز مؤشر برولة تخصص حوكمة الأخلاقيات في الذكاء الاصطناعي فيه كأحد العوامل الرئيسية التي تؤثر في تقييمات الدول، مما يجسد أهمية التعاون والدعم الدولي الذي يوفر ميثاق العالم الإسلامي للذكاء الاصطناعي في تعزيز قدرات الدول الأعضاء في مجالات الابتكار والتقنيات الذكاء الاصطناعي. يشرفني اليوم أن أتحدث إليكم بصفتي مدير مركز الاستشراف الاستراتيجي والذكاء الاصطناعي بالإيسيسكو، ويشرفنا بحضور الخبراء وبحضور معالي مدير العام لإيسيسكو الدكتور سالم المالك للنقاش مع عدة خبراء وزملاء، خبراء من جامعات، خبراء من منظمات دولية.
Around the idea of the artificial intelligence, as well as also the dimensions, strategic dimensions, and what are the consequences and changes that might play a great role on the role of the AI. Without further ado, I would like to transfer Hidiz Healy. The speech is he is the graduate from the High Ministry of the Administrative from Strasbourg. Before he was the court member because of his legal administration, and now he is legal manager at social official affairs. Mr. Hidiz, what are the tools, international tools that regulate of the AI, and how does that will you usually affect the ICESCO's chart? Thank you very much, Dr. Qais, and thank you very much. Welcome again to all the participants and the expertise with us today. Welcome also at the academia field from Oman. Of course, our topic, the governance of the AI and other related topics are also, they are accelerated topics, the way the advanced technology are. And of course, the government, they need it on the other hand. On the other hand, other international organizations needs it. We need to utilize the advanced technology as well as we are confronting the challenges. We need to overcome these challenges. Of course, the ICESCOs, it works with the education and science and other related fields like health and other related sectors. These are very vital sectors for the citizens and for the human in general. So the organization have received many tasks and international requests, and all the state members, actually, we have different cases and experience, have been improved through our different participations and practices, as for these organizations have been held in Asia and also Africa. And through all of these, participations and their meetings with their officials, they draw a clear strategy with the AI in their countries. So we have experience and there are momentums in their countries. We need to utilize and get to benefit. And we have an international regional convention or a chart on the Islamic countries, and also based on the principles like, ICESCOs through their experience. They are utilizing the universal principles, all the things that they have been done, like UNESCO's and also the Developmental and Economic Organization and European Union and the European Councils. There are many experience and many lessons have been learned throughout all these charts. Now we have a clear, actually special principles for these cultural and different factors like identity field and culture field, and all related the nature of the Muslim communities are related to the cultures in the Arabic language as well. And ICESCO have shown their desire to get the language in the upper places and to enrich the Arabic content, so the AI to be a tool to create and to regulate Arabic language to be persistent, just like comparatively like other languages. What are the challenges? What are the variations on the privacy? For the Islamic regions, are there any consequences? For example, demography. The demographic growth is really rapid in Islamic world. Yes, of course. This is very important questions, very important, crucial questions. Yes, we have also some vital consequences like technological factors. These are rapid factors in complications for their nations, and it's very difficult to have a clear challenges. Therefore, we have selected these countries to reshape ethics, standards, and criteria without hesitating. They are critical, trials, legislation-wise. So we have a need, and we need to assess the gap to create and establish a real chart of principles and ethics members within the flexible rules, without tackling all the international AI, without any corruptions of the technology, and without even harming the technology. We have to degrade the different levels in general of the AI. So all of these actually will be reshaping and certain drawing for framework. Thank you very much, Mr. Hadi. Mr. Zaid Jaboub, you are Vice President for the Oman University. Welcome to our roundtable discussion. Dr. Said is a master's earned from Oxford, and he have the thesis. He have different field in AI and technology. With no further ado, Doctor, what is your opinion, an academic-wise opinion from ICESCO about the governance of AI, and how could these educational institutions to play a great role in developing policies, effective policies in these fields with no further delay of applications? Thank you very much, Dr. Case, and good evening, everyone.
Maybe sometimes I lose terms in English.
As for ethics, the future.
أنا أرى إنه مستقبل أخلاقيات الذكاء الاصطناعي يرتبط.
The speaker is bilingual. He might choose 2 languages. Now, Microsoft company and Google. Okay.
We will not focus on the large language model, because when you focus on this model,
making an
how
AI
to
that
take that
can plan over
كيف
multiple
يمكن أن
horizon
نخطط
of time.
لنماذج مختلفة من
An
هذه
AI
الطاقة
that can
الإبداعية. الذكاء
understand humans
الاصطناعي
more than they
يركز على
understand themselves.
الفهم
So
الأساسي
they
لتلك
just
النماذج،
wanted to
ونحن
plan over
نود
multiple
أن
horizon of
ننظر
time,
إلى هذه
and they
الآفاق
wanted to
وأن
take
نأخذ بعين
emotions and
الاعتبار في
decisions.
التنبؤ في العواطف لأخذ
And this
القرارات
makes the
الأساسية،
ethics in a
وهذا ما
format
يجعل اللغة الأساسية محددة.
where if we want
وأين
to
عندما
keep
نود أن نحاول
ethics
أن
evolving
نحتفظ
with the advancement of
بإشراك
artificial
الأخلاق مع
intelligence,
الذكاء الاصطناعي هنا،
we need to
فنحن
simulate
بحاجة
ethical
إلى
scenarios based on data.
السيناريوهات
Because AI is a lot of
الأخلاقية
data.
في نطاق
AI
المحاكاة.
is a technology
الذكاء الاصطناعي
that turns
هو
information
جانب
and data
أساسي
into
مهم
knowledge.
في المعرفة
And this is
البيانات
evolving in
وإشراكنا
an
في
unprecedented
الاستفادة
pace.
الكبرى في هذا
So
الشأن.
in the future, in 2 to 3
والمستقبل
years,
هنا
there'll
في
be
هذا
artificial
النطاق
intelligence systems
قد
that
يكون
can
هناك
plan over
أنظمة
multiple
عن
horizon of time,
الذكاء الاصطناعي
artificial
أيضا
intelligence systems
وغيرها
that
من
can
الأنظمة
perform a
الأخرى التي
sequence of
تستطيع
actions
أن
over
تأخذ الإجراءات
over
الأساسية
a period of
حول
time.
كل من
And
مرحلة
access to
الأوقات أو
intelligence
فترة الأوقات
won't
المختلفة.
be
نحن
understanding the
يجب أن نفهم
information.
المعلومات
Rather,
بشكل
it will be
أساسي
about
بدلا من أن ننظر
using
إلى استخدامها
information to perform a sequence of actions. So the issue here is not the ethics of AI. So universities actually, they're working hard to establish AI ethics centers and labs to explore the ethical, legal, and societal implications of AI by actually gathering experts from different fields, not computer science, but also from law, philosophy, and psychology, etc., and economics. But the main issue here, the revolution which is happening in AI, actually caused the movement in other revolutions. If we look at molecular biology, you see synthetic biology and genetic engineering. So we are dealing with two different types of ethics, AI ethics and bioethics. And this is actually a problem which will be a serious problem soon. And as Dr. Qais stated earlier, actually interdisciplinary research is happening only in universities. That's why lots of industrial sector companies, they're actually collaborating with universities to develop regulations and framework that will guide responsible innovations in AI. And the main issue here is not about the research itself or integrating AI ethics inside the curriculum where students are not actually dealing with the technical aspect of AI, but rather the impact over the society. The main issue here is the advancement that's happening so quickly in the domain of AI where ethics are still very basic. So from my point of view, the only way to keep ethics evolving with AI is to simulate ethics based on data. So have a sort of simulation scenarios of ethics. And this will keep, wherever AI evolves, the development, also these ethics also evolve. And the last point is that we need to make sure that ethical considerations are integrated in every aspect of AI technology development and the laws governing their use. So it's very important. Universities also are platforms or hubs where lots of experts, developers, public figures, companies, they gather together, in workshops, conferences, or forums, or summits. So the way to go forward, universities will be actually one main factor. But I think the shift and the transformation which is happening inside the higher education sector is also actually will shift or will actually narrow the approach that universities or their importance inside the higher education sector. Whereas the industrial sector now is providing higher education, they're also dealing with lots of things. They're competing in the knowledge business. So this is, in summary, I see it like this. Ethics and myself, if ethics do not evolve in the next 2 years, there'll be no ethics at all. I think it will be really difficult. People having lots of countries and unions, they're having frameworks and guidelines. They talk about this, but up to a level that keeps everyone talking about the process they're using when they develop things, but the future economies are only digital economy, which is linked to data economy and the low of zero carbon economy. And all of these, they rely a lot in the advancement of high tech. So when you control data, you control power, and everyone wants this. And I think it's an area where regulations and frameworks, I think, will take time until this area is still a very young area, and I think needs more global collaborations, working together for global standards frameworks, and to control the speed that AI technologies actually are evolving.
لكن دكتور ما هي المساهمات الرئيسية للجامعات على
contribution of the academies and universities, how to develop the concept of the artificial intelligence, and at the same time, what is the procedure that you take it under the ICESCO? What is the applicable dimensions? What is the efforts that you did it for the VITAS universities? As I said before, we have different
research centers and labs, and as you stated, chairs. Many universities. So we have at the University of Technology and Applied Sciences in Oman, we actually have a strategic partner with ICESCO, where we established an AI ethics chair. And the objective of that chair actually is to explore more the ethical, legal, and societal implications of AI. And also, we are working to boost innovation capacity in that area and the research capacities. So there are different objectives and aims for that chair. And it's a strategic partner. We're actually a few months ago, we had this regional workshop about the charter, where Mr. Mohammed already elaborated on. So there are actually initiatives, but if you look at things in a global context or a perspective, higher perspective, you see that the initiatives in that domain of AI ethics are still very modest. So the area is still very young, because the high-tech companies and actually the governments who are actually controlling or having power are actually, I'm not too sure, maybe Professor Gofi, he is an expert in ethics, he knows better in this domain. But I think the problem is not the AI ethics itself. AI is causing lots of revolutions. One of them is the molecular biology revolution, where we're shifting now from biological industrial manufacturing to biological manufacturing. And this is a big issue, actually. It is already there. So do we need to control the power of computations and that speed that AI these companies are using to develop AI? Or I think regulating the ethical use of technologies is not anymore of a significant, is not significantly beneficial. We need to regulate every aspect in the development of AI technologies, and also the laws that govern the use of this AI. Universities, they play a very vital role in that, in terms of research, in terms of education. But as I said, education itself is transforming. It's not anymore that the industrial sector is the consumer of talent and the universities are the creator of talents. It's the equation is not anymore as before. So you see the industrial sector. If you look at Coursera, theoretically, Coursera is the largest university in the world. In 2022, they had 102 million enrollments. They're using traditional models. They use the industrial model of higher education. They use micro-credentials. They use nano degrees. They're more into competency-based education, outcome-based education. So, and there's a shift also in culture. When you look at millennials and Z generation, these generations, they believe in purpose. They believe in prosperity. They do not into the stuff where where the boomer-centric generation was controlling the business now in governments and in the societies. So I think there are lots of changes. We're having good initiatives, actually, in terms of the university. We're having also, we established an artificial intelligence lab, where that lab actually secured the first prize for the World Information Society at Geneva in 2023. The university itself, with ICESCO, we're having a chair, we're working on different initiatives. But if you look at the whole concept in a global scale, you see that these initiatives are still very modest.
شكرا دكتور.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Mr. Richard, he's the CEO for the Expert Insights. Welcome you all. He's expert in the technical legislation, especially in the artificial intelligence. He's the CEO Expert Insight. He's leading the initiatives to help the people for engage the artificial intelligence, especially in their strategies, national strategies. He's worked with the international organization like UNESCO and World Bank, and he's working with the ICESCO. He's playing a vital role, especially in the artificial intelligence and how to read about different
سؤالي الأول
First question for you, what is the key lessons that we have to benefit from the countries that are ready to adapt the artificial intelligence based on the readiness of the government and the artificial intelligence?
Okay, thank you. So as you just introduced, I'm from Oxford Insights, and one of our leading products is the AI Readiness Index. So this is an index where we've looked at every country in the world, and we've looked at their capacity to be able to implement AI. So that's across what's going on within government and indicators there, the technology sector, the data and infrastructure, and some of the sort of governance questions that we were just touching on in the discussion around ethics. And I think from the report that we did last year, then there are some really interesting things that come out. Like, we've done this, I think, for 4 or 5 years now. And when we first started, the number of countries that had an AI strategy almost fitted around this table. That's no longer true. Like, almost every country in the world is asking themselves the question, how can we harness AI for better growth, to support new industries, and to deliver better services into our public? And also at the same time asking themselves the question that you were just teeing up of, like, how do we protect our citizens from global companies coming in, providing an AI service, doing God knows what with the data, and making sure that the results that they get back are consistent with the values that we want within our country. And if you look at the report that we did last year, then you see that there's been enormous progress in the Islamic world in this sphere in the last 12 months. I mean, definitely in the last 2 years, but there's a rapid acceleration in the last 12 months. And I think that means that when you start asking questions like you were talking about around the governance tools and the legal structures, you know, I think that one can have a segmentation of the things that require global action, the things that require regional action, things that require like countries to legislate. And I think that the Islamic world is just reaching that point where there is certainly some things that require domestic legislation. But I would argue that there's also some things that require an Islamic response. So it's that sort of regional or community action where the countries cooperate to provide a united face against what are otherwise sometimes quite like aggressive international companies, so you don't get picked off. And you know, that for me, that window of opportunity has just opened, and you can see the evidence for that in the report that we did. Now, you also asked a little bit, like, what can we learn from the leading countries? And I think I'll just pick a couple of examples of countries who I think are doing really well. And the first country, not just inspired by the fact you're the next speaker, but France, I think, are doing an amazing job for having really good integration between the private sector and the public sector, and for bringing innovation into government. So there is an enormous startup space. This is one of the big pushes for Macron over the last, I think, 5 years. He's been pushing for digital government and for bringing startups through into scale-ups. And they've put in place the structures to mean that government understands what's going on in the startup space, and the startups are able to feed into the upcoming regulation support. So there's a really nice two-way dialogue, which I would say is one of the better examples around the world as to how to do this well. And you can see a difference in the trajectory of the country, like in the AI space and in the startup space, as a result of that innovation. I have to say, the country who scores best on our index is the USA, for pretty self-evident reasons. Like, they have a fantastic private sector, they have a really strong research base. They kind of lucked out with machine learning, because Stanford was the one. There were 3 universities that were still pushing that route rather than semantic knowledge. Stanford was one of them, heart of Silicon Valley. It turned out that was the most productive way forward. They've won big. Unfortunately, without a time machine, I don't think we can learn much from that. The final thing that I just talk about there, of like countries that are really doing well, are countries who are thinking about the data infrastructure that they can provide. So thinking about the data that they hold that they can provide to the startups, and provide it in a way which enables innovation on top. And where it's sensitive, like say in healthcare, or you might ask me about some of the bad examples, then you can use techniques like synthetic data to be able to provide data which can train AI, while still maintaining the privacy of the people underneath. So that you can build tools that, for example, around like Gen AI and healthcare, which you can prove work, and you can build them in a way which respects people's privacy. And once they've been proven to work, then they can then go out and they can start providing better services.
سؤالي آخر قبل أن أمر
Question for Emmanuel Pulfi. We are speaking about the project of the ICESCO, especially in the Islamic world. For your experience that you have it about the reports, what is the added value in this report
للعالم الإسلامي.
for the Islamic world?
I hope the translation is my question about AI index for Islamic world.
So I think the value for doing an Islamic index for the an AI index for the Islamic world is that you then end up with something that is tailored to the context, tailored to the decisions that might be taken on the back. And particularly when linked in the context of the charter, which is hopefully being announced here, then you are able to use it as a way of seeing how much that's carried forward into the actions of countries and then going through. So you end up with a unique asset, which enables progress to be assessed, and also the other bits of research to hang off it, which will sort of shed light into AI in the Islamic world.
سؤالي بسرعة
There are questions here. When you are speaking about the rapid development in the artificial intelligence, especially in the Islamic world, from your viewpoint, do you have a report annually, or for 2 years, or even for 3 years?
So the AI Readiness Index is an annual report, and we have reports going back 5-6 years. I can't now remember the precise number of editions. Sorry.
Okay. شكرا. Cher Emmanuel, j'aurais aimé te parler en français, mais la traduction...
عذرا لا أستطيع التحدث اللغة الفرنسية.
Je switch en arabe, bien sûr. Donc, merci, merci. شكرا دكتور إيمانويل غوفي وهو صديق هو خبير معنا.
He is expert.
وهو أستاذ
He is a professor of the artificial intelligence in the ethic field. Dr. Manuel, he has ability to work in the artificial intelligence. He is a consultant with different international organizations. His research working with different part in the artificial intelligence. But now I want to ask you, what is the crisis? What is the current and future crisis, especially in the artificial intelligence ethics, and how to expand the decision making that you take it for now?
Thank you for the question. I just wanted to start with a disclaimer. I'm a philosopher and I promote critical thinking. So I will just suddenly push the button of critical thinking, and I'm sorry if I hurt some of you, but I will tell you what I think, which is just basically a thing that I will share with you. You don't have to agree with me. You're talking about the crisis. I think that we are really already, and Dr. Jabou was saying that, in a crisis of ethics. As a philosopher working in ethics a lot, what I can see is pretty poor. The discussion that we have about ethics is really superficial, and sometimes it's a really mainstream narrative that has been repeated time and again. I was just, and I don't want to be insulting toward anyone, and I do not want to be critical in the bad sense of the word, but I was attending the UNESCO presentation with all these panelists coming from different parts of the world, right? But when you hear each of them, they use exactly the same wording, the same narrative, as if they were part of exactly the same culture. And that is, to me, a big problem. And this is where the ICESCO, working on this charter, is making a really important difference, right? My point, and if you go around all the event today, you will see lots of companies that are coming from the Western world, not from Saudi Arabia, not from Africa, not from India, some of them definitely, but look at all the companies, right, that are here, and you will see who is leading the world. The point is, and something that we really have to keep in mind at some point, is that ethics today, the origin of ethics, is shaped by economy, by money, right, by all the benefits that all the companies can have can gain from AI. You were talking about the fact that we have this, articulation between the public and the private sector in France. That's good, yes, but the problem is that obviously you have a strong lobbying from the industry toward the government, right? Yeah. And the interest of the industry is not the interest of the government, right? The aims of the industry is to make benefits. The aim of the government is to protect the citizens, right? So these are two really, really different aims. So if you put all those people in the same room discussing, and most of the people, and I guess that's true for many countries, politicians in France, they have no clue about ethics. Most of them, they are totally ignorant about AI. So you can sell them whatever you want, right? They will buy it. So this is a big issue that we have here now, right? And all the discussion that I've heard for years now, I've been working in this field for more than 20 years, right? First in the military, and then I left the military, working in the academic world, in France, in Germany, in Canada, also working in Morocco, working with all of you at the Islamic world. I've learned a lot, but what I've learned is that each time I'm traveling, I'm listening to the same narrative. And that is really, really, really concerning to me, right? When we're all talking about transparency, this kind of thing, transparency, privacy, human-centric approach, responsible AI, this AI, trustworthy AI, this is, I don't want to be rude, but this is BS narrative, right? Because that does not exist. There is no such thing as responsible AI. You have people that are responsible for their use or the development of specific AI tools, right? If you say responsible AI, what you put in the mind of the people that are not working in the field of artificial intelligence is that the technology is responsible, which is definitely not true, unless, which is not the case yet, unless you have an AI that is fully autonomous in the Kantian sense, in the philosophical sense, which is, able to have intention. So we are already in a crisis because we're all talking about ethics without doing ethics at all. We are doing what I call cosmetics. It's makeup. We're making up, right? We know that a lot of people are really reluctant toward AI. A lot of people are really concerned about bad effects of artificial intelligence, which is definitely legitimate. But we want to reassure them. And I really like you to dive into the EU regulation. I see so many people amazed by the beauty of the GDPR, the AI Act, and all those things. I just want you to take the time, if you can, to read all the documents that have been published by the European Union the last 10 years to understand what's behind all that. And what's behind all that is a clear thing that it's not about me, just read the documents, is that on the one hand, you have the US that is leading the world in terms of AI. On the other hand, you have China that will lead the world in terms of AI, right? When you're a small, not country, but a group of countries like Europe, right, you're nothing. And you have to compete against two giants. So, and everyone in the room would understand that you're looking for a niche, something that makes you different, right? And this something is something that has been used time and again in international relations in Europe and in France specifically. It's norms. So whatever are the competitors doing, if you are able to set the limits, then you are imposing the rules, right? So you will have to say to the US, if you want to enter the European market, then you will have to respect this and that rules. Exactly is that the same for China, right? And my concern is that it is, to me as a philosopher, a form of tyranny, a form of cultural tyranny, because I'm saying to the world, this is what is acceptable, this is what is not acceptable, and I don't care about the fact that maybe your ethical origin is not mine. I've worked with many countries, for example, in India or also in Africa. And when we're talking, for example, about human autonomy, I've had this really interesting discussion with a researcher in Ivory Coast, and he told me that's really a problem to us because we're adopting this rule, and sometimes it's really counterproductive because we have places that are really remotely located where we do not have access to any doctors or any resources to help. So we need AI that is fully autonomous. We don't need AI that might be controlled by humans, right? We need AI that would be able to do the job because we do not have the resources. We are, and this is something a friend of mine, Dr. Jassim Aji, told me years ago. He told me, and I think that's really philosophical. He told me, in Europe, in the Western world, you have time to think about philosophical questions because lots of people are just thinking about how I will survive the coming day and the coming weeks, right? And if to survive the coming weeks, the coming months, the coming years, and if I have to feed my kids, and if for that I have to deploy an AI that will violate your privacy, I don't care. And this is something that is totally ethically understandable. We might disagree with that, but we have problems of rich people, where in some places, some countries, right, the ethical origin is totally different. And this is something we do not understand. We are all talking about ethics. I will not dive into the linguistic and the discussion about the Stoicians, about what a word is, but I just want you to keep in mind that when we are saying ethics, if I would ask each of you in this room to give me a definition, there is a chance that we would have really different definition of what ethics is, right? So it's not all to just, gather around the table or talk about ethics. If we do not have the same definition, we are discussing about something that is totally useless. So we are actually in a crisis because we are using ethics as a communication tool for marketing purposes.
Translation, please, sorry.
But as a philosopher, what is your viewpoint? What is the procedure, the ethical procedure to protect the human being and the cultural value in general, and the general topic?
So it's let's take it from a philosophical angle. The first one is that I would ask, if I was in front of my student, I would say, okay, what makes you say that we have to protect human beings? That's the first thing, right? That's bias. That's a premise that you can discuss. That's the first point. And the second question would be, what make you think that we could do with AI what we're not able to do as human beings? Why are we expecting AI not to be harmful while us as human beings, we are waging war, we are violent physically when we're speaking, right? So why are we dreaming of something that is so different and so totally, I would say, I'm not sure it exists in English, unachievable? Does that make sense, right? Something that you cannot do, right? If we are doing AI, artificial intelligence, which is a really misleading word, I mean, what's the point? What are we looking for? Something perfect? Something more perfect than human beings? So the question is, what is more perfect than a human being? I think that human beings are perfect in their, in their weaknesses, in their strengths. We are perfect, right? What would be a world without biases, without discrimination? That's the question. I don't have any answer, but I'm just wondering, what would be a world without violence? Is it only possible? So are we expecting from artificial intelligence something that we are creating to be something different than what we are, right? And that's a big question. And sometimes I feel like this is where I was talking about philosophy and ethics as really superficial. We're all agree, oh, we have to be transparent. Yes, let's be transparent. Oh, we have to respect privacy. Oh, yes, let's respect privacy. I've worked in the military for years, right? And I can tell you that transparency in the military is a really bad idea. You don't want to be transparent about your algorithms, and that's true also in education. Sometimes that's true in the field of, in many industries. For example, in the health industry, right? You don't want people to know how your AI is working, right? There are strategic interests behind that. There are political interests behind that. There are financial interests behind that. So, beyond the narrative, the cosmetics narrative that exists, I think that we have to, and this is something that has been specified by Dr. Javoub, is that we have to go down to the very specific issue that we have to deal with each time. We are developing an app in a specific cultural setting for a specific purpose. Then start asking what are the consequences of that. And then maybe you will be able to deal with the ethical consequences, and maybe you will find issues to deal with that, right? But if you address that at a really high level of abstraction, and if you think like everyone in this room agrees on the fact that we respect privacy, that we have to respect human rights, that we have to respect transparency, that we have to... If we start from that, we are making a big mistake. And once again, I will finish on that. The work that is done by the ICESCO regarding the Charter, I think, must show to the world and lots of other places all around the world that ethics starts with values, and values start with culture, right? If you go the other way, what you're doing is, this is what we are all doing. I work with many companies in China, in the UK, in France, in Canada. Each time we're starting with risks. What are the risks for my reputation? What are the financial risks? What are the technological risks? There is no way where people are starting, oh, what are my values? What are the things that I do think are worth being promoted or protected? They all start with risks. So if you start with risk, I would say every companies all around the world will agree on the fact that obviously the risks are quite the same, right? So once again, ethics is about values. Values is about culture, and we have to take that into account.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes to finish now. 5 or 10.
لدينا
Question about the future with AI. We can, for all the speakers, with AI, we can predict the future now.
Predict the future?
Yeah, with AI.
I don't know if we can predict the future. I think, as a philosopher, I think I wouldn't like to predict the future. I don't care about the future. I just want to live today, right? Because we are already living in the past most of the time, and now we're trying to live in the future, and sometimes we're just missing the present. And the present is great, right? So my point is that we can predict the future, but we have a problem, for example, when talking about AI ethics, is the responsibility that our generation has toward the next generation. But the point is that I don't know what the next generation is expecting. I have a son, he's 24, and maybe he will be really, really happy to live with a, living through a screen, and maybe he will not care about trees, about birds, about traveling the world, and maybe my grandchildren will have exactly the same thing. So if I'm projecting too far, I'm projecting my biases, I'm projecting my expectation, I'm projecting my biases, which is not fair to me.
Richard, we can predict the future?
Yes, although just very quickly, my son is 9 and he would be delighted to live with like a virtual reality screen all the time. Yeah, so I think we can predict the future. I think we can predict the future for about like 5 minutes in the future, maybe half an hour in the future. On a good day, 6 hours. More than that, I think is currently hard, and it's also in specific domains. Like, what is going to be the demand for widgets on Amazon in a month's time? Reasonably good. What is the state of the stock market in a month's time? More complicated, and we don't really know. But those models get better all the time.
But we can anticipate the future with AI.
Yeah, like I think we can anticipate a future with AI, and we can anticipate a future of how AI is going to be used. And I think personally, we can get slightly ahead of some of the conversations that you were just saying we need to have now, because we can see that this is going to be meaningful in a 3-5 year time horizon. So, let's start those conversations today, because if we get to 3-5 years time and we haven't had those conversations, we'll be looking back with regret and we'll be trying to do something too quickly.
Dr. Said.
Yes. I think the future of AI will actually
predict the future.
Yes, will
AI.
depend on two things. Soon, in 2 to 3 years, AI will be able to plan over a multiple horizon of time. Definitely, AI can do this. And AI will be able to perform a sequence of actions like humans over a period of time, definitely in 2 to 3 years. That's why the ethics got to be there from now. I'll give you 2 examples. If you look at the language, in 2023 generative AI, AI was able to hack the human civilization through the language, because it is mastering the language at a level that surpasses an average human intelligence. That's why after that, lots of countries and unions and countries, they were talking about ethics. Another example is the financial system. It's all about trust. If you want the definition of trust, it's exactly the financial system. AI is about information, turning information and data into knowledge. So it's more easier for an AI technology or algorithm to hack the financial system in contrast to the language, because the financial system is all about information in and out. These are 2 examples. When the financial system is about to lose the trust, you will see serious initiatives about ethics. This is one thing I predict in terms of the future. The models, the current models of AI, I don't think any of the big tech companies will be interested in the large language models, because OpenAI, they blow these tech companies with a blow when actually generative AI came publicly. They wanted to do something else. They're actually focusing on the planning, and they just want to predict the emotions of humans and the decisions. And through the revolution which comes from molecular biology, through synthetic biology and genetic engineering, you will see another area which is more controlled by surveillance capitalism through AI, which is biometric data. So there's a big potential for AI, and I think if we do not control every aspect of the AI technology's development through ethical considerations and through the laws that governing the use of AI, the world itself will be really different in a few years. Now, if you look at these algorithms or AI technologies, sometimes they're hallucinating. And that is the bias which comes is from the codes and from the data itself. We as humans, sometimes we cannot explain things we do. No one here can explain why they had a breakfast they had this morning and why we are wearing these clothes right now. So these things are there, and they will remain there. It's very promising, and there'll be new capabilities, but I don't think we'll be having an AI that we can make it explainable. Areas like fairness, accountability, and transparency, and privacy, and bias, they will remain there, because AI is becoming our autonomy now.
شكرا دكتور.
Thank you.
أستاذ هادي. We can predict the future with AI? Yes or no?
لو سمحت نرجع ملاحظة ممكن كان ساقها الدكتور إيمانويل.
As Mr. Minawil said about the conversion between the artificial intelligence and other sectors, when you have a workshop in the ICESCO, we heard a lot about the workshop in the ethics, especially in the last workshop that we intended. So. Especially with something related with the technology, we have different issues that's related to the technology and how to hear it when you have any issues with different countries. We heard issues that are related with how to develop the capital, how to develop the worker, and different other workshops. And from this part, we are linked between the development issues and value issues. We have idea about the future. We need to compare about the levels of that, or that's what the Oxford Insight said about the readiness of the countries. This is what we want to think about the ICESCO charter and how to link with that charter with all the values. And tomorrow, inshallah, we have a recommendation and I will invite all of you to present this charter from Salim Al-Malik to hear his recommendation. It will be different that you have it in the international charter. Even that you heard it in the international announcement, but how we will take the responsibilities in that charter. And he said different new issues that is related to the development sectors, and at the same time how to look about how to equal between two different countries. And that's what we will work with it in the ICESCO, and even how to raise the readiness of the government and the countries. And after that, we will look to different issues. But in the local content, we will look about our priorities, or that's what we will work with it with our partnership to achieve the great future and to benefit from the technical opportunities. Thank you so much for the ICESCO charter and the artificial intelligence. We have specific dynamics how to take the changing that will affect in the future and the present. And tomorrow we will present it, inshallah, with the CEO, Dr. Salim. Thank you so much for each one of you. Thank you so much for the audience. Thank you so much for the speakers. Thank you so much for Mr. Said, Richard, Manuel. Merci beaucoup.
Pour l'humanité à travers l'IA. Merci.
شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you.